Hi, and welcome to Paper Route Scrapbooking. I'm Nadine, and today I'm turning some scraps into embellishments. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scraps to Embellishments series, a year-long hop with Ginger from Ginger's Corner and some of her friends, where we take scraps and create beautiful things with them. Some of the people who are participating in the swaps over on Ginger's Corner are participating in this series, and some people participating in the series are just creating embellishments for their own use. So I hope you'll go and check some of those out and see what inspires you. All right, so today I'm going to be creating for a partner swap, and it is called What's Your Type? And it says create a typewriter embellishment pack that includes one layered title, one layered journaling block, and two matching layered embellishments that are in the theme. Okay, so the theme is typewriter. So what I did was I went and looked up a couple of embellishments that I thought would go well with this on my Cricut design space. And then I went and picked out some scraps that I thought would match together nicely, which I picked these three colors. And I needed some neutrals. So I grabbed some black, white, and gray. And I think these scraps should be enough. If not, I'll pull from the other scrap stash that I have. And so I'm going to just pause the camera here. I'm going to go run these through the Cricut, and then I'll pop back and we'll create the title, journaling block, and embellishments together. Okay, hang on. I'll be right back. All right, so here's what I came up with. Here is my typewriter piece. So because the prompt was create a typewriter embellishment pack, I felt like I needed to have a typewriter in there somewhere. So I found a typewriter in Cricut Design Space and I cut it out. And that's what this one is. So lots of fun. It's really cute. You know what came up though when I was doing that? And I don't know who else remembers this, but did you guys ever on Sesame Street see that? Do you remember? This is gonna really like date me, I guess. But when I was little, there was this like character, I think it was Sesame Street, maybe it wasn't, maybe I'm confusing things, but it was on TV anyways. And there was this like little typewriter guy and he had like wheels, and then he would like wheel out. I don't even remember what he was for. Like what was his purpose? I don't know. But anyway, I saw a caricature of him on when I searched for typewriter, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's so funny. I'd completely forgotten about that from my childhood until I saw him in my search for a typewriter piece. But it's always fun to remember things like that from growing up years. I was trying to remember if I learned to type on a typewriter or on a computer, and I think it was a computer, but I could be wrong because I have also a memory of well, my mom had this really old typewriter that I remember because I remember the noise it made when it was like ding, and then you had to push the thing to slide it back to the beginning of the page. And so I do remember that, but when I try to think about like being in middle school or high school and taking a typing class, I think we were on computers. So but then I also remember like one lab was full of computers and one lab was full of typewriters. So I don't know. I don't actually remember. But how times have changed. A typewriter is now what, like an antique or something? This for some reason is sticking out a little bit, the yellow piece. So I'm just going to trim it off so that it doesn't show. And these scraps were just in my rainbow scraps, so they're not like from a collection or anything, but I think that they go nicely together. I'm really liking how this is turning out. So that's my typewriter piece. Now the other, what do they call it? Icon embellishment, I guess, that I chose was this quill because I thought it went with my title. And I chose the title Just a Note. So I had a few other ideas that I'll share with you. of things that I could have done like with a typewriter in terms of like choosing, you know, because you have to choose a title and two embellishments and, right? So I was like, I needed to think of a title, and I was like, well, what would go with a typewriter? I'm like, I don't want to make the title about a typewriter because who's gonna, like, I'm not gonna scrapbook anything about a typewriter. I don't know who else would. And maybe that is the story that somebody will tell, but I thought I wanted it to be something a little bit more generic, and so I was thinking like, well, what is a typewriter for? So one of the things that I came up with was it could be about a story. So one of the titles I was looking for was like tell your story, or this is my story, or story of the day kind of thing. And then I came across one that said noted, I think is what it said. And so I was like, ooh, I like that. But then I wanted something a little bit more than just a one-word title. And I found just a note. But then I was thinking as I was like putting this together too, I was like, you know, this could have been, we could have also done love notes. We could have done note to self. I think there's lots of things that could have happened here. And this offsets just a little bit and gives it that yellow shadow, which is how the cut file was made. So I'm leaving it like that. I think it actually kind of looks sort of cool and different and just a little bit, something just a little bit different. Okay, so that's that. So I have my title, I have my two embellishments, a typewriter and a quill. And now I just need a journaling block. And so what I did was I looked through my scraps and I found this small scrap of white, and it's like a grid paper that would be easy to write on because it has lines. So I think I'm just going to ink that up a little bit in my hickory smoke, which is what I inked my white paper on my typewriter with. I think that would be a good place to stamp your date too, is on that typewriter paper. And I was going to mention too that I did, before I turned the camera back on, I inked all the edges. So all of the red edges are in the fired brick. The white and gray were hickory smoke. I did do a little bit of the black on one of the black scraps because it had like a white edge. And then I also used broken china for the blue, which is what I think I'm going to do. Like, I feel like this would go nicely here. Maybe I'll do a double matte. What do you think? And then it'll really match. Okay, let's see what I can figure out here. I better put the lid back on my glue though, so that doesn't dry out. But, and then my yellow piece was done with Wild Honey Distress ink. So pulled out the colored distress inks, not my just usual neutral colors that I often do. There we go. So this can go in the recycling. And then I have this piece and this piece. And I think what I might do is just a little bit of a border with the red. It's like a maroon kind of red. It's a purpley red. Keep this scrap. Recycle this scrap. There we go. Let's see, does this fit on here? No, that doesn't actually fit. Okay, I'll just use this one. So I'm just going to glue this one down. And it was, like I said, it was just like a loose scrap. I keep my white scraps separate because I use them for like matting photos and stuff. So the ones that have like a little bit of writing or like grid or whatever, or dot or something that's very basic like this, I have a little pile of those. So I just flipped through it until I found something that I thought would work. And I think this does work very nicely. There we go. And I'm just going to trim a little bit off of this side so it's even around. And I think that's good. And then I'll just add a little bit of that Broken China Distress ink, and then we'll be good to go. So for this partner swap, everybody's going to get one title, 2 embellishments, and a journaling block from their partner. And I can't wait to see what my partner makes for me. I'm interested in seeing how other people interpret this prompt, because I find the more generic ones somehow more difficult than the more specific ones. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like I did okay though. So here is my little embellishment kit for my partner during my partner swap for Ginger's Corner, and I hope that whoever gets it appreciates it. I was thinking too, and I might still do this off camera. Maybe I'll do a still shot at the end so that you can see, but I think I'm going to go around with some like pen, white pen maybe, and do a little bit of an outline, but I think that's about it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. I hope you all have a great day. Bye for now.